Alexis wheeled herself into the sterile hospital room, her hands gripping the rims of her chair so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The beeping monitors filled the air like a cruel symphony, but nothing compared to the shock of seeing her father, frail and hooked up to machines, his eyes pleading as they locked onto hers. "Lexi, please," he whispered, his voice a ghost of the thunderous rage that had shattered her life 8 years ago. "You're my only match. I need your kidney to live." The words hit her like a freight train, drudging up the nightmare from that rainy night in their Seattle home. She was 17, heart pounding as she confessed her love for girls, for Alice specifically, to her devoutly conservative father. His face had twisted in fury, and in a blind rage, he'd shoved her down the stairs, leaving her spine shattered and her legs useless forever. Now here he was, Richard Harlan, the man who'd disowned her, expecting salvation from the daughter he'd broken. Alexis's mind raced with a torrent of emotions, anger boiling like acid in her veins, mixed with a twisted pity she despised herself for feeling. "Why should I save him?" she thought, her inner voice a whirlwind. "He took everything from me, my mobility, my family, my sense of safety. But if I let him die, am I any better than the monster he became that night?" She glanced at the door, half expecting Alice to burst in and pull her away from this hell. Alice, her rock, the one who'd stayed through the surgeries, the physical therapy, the endless nights of doubt. They'd met in high school. A stolen kiss in the library sparking a flame that refused to die even after the accident. But now, with Richard's life hanging by a thread, Alexis felt the weight of choice crushing her. The doctor entered, clipboard in hand, his expression neutral but probing. "Ms. Harlan, we've confirmed you're a perfect match. The procedure could save your father's life, but it's your decision." Alexis nodded curtly, her throat tight. Inside she screamed, "Decision? This isn't a choice. It's a trap laid by fate to test if I've truly forgiven the unforgivable." Memories flooded her. Growing up in a household where Bible verses were weapons, where her mother's silent complicity stung worse than her father's outbursts. Coming out had been her act of rebellion, a desperate bid for authenticity in a world that demanded conformity. Alice had been her lifeline then, sneaking into the hospital room with whispers of forever, promising a future beyond the pain. But society hadn't made it easy. Whispers in their small community turned to outright scorn. Friends drifted away, jobs were lost to subtle discrimination. Alexis had clawed her way to independence, earning a degree in social work online, advocating for LGBTQ+ youth who face the same battles. Now this, her father's dialysis failing, his body rejecting other options. "He expects me to give a part of myself," she seethed inwardly, after he stole so much. Alice arrived later that evening, her presence a balm amid the chaos. She sat beside Alexis's wheelchair, hand on her knee, a touch that spoke volumes without words. "You don't owe him anything," Alice said softly, her eyes fierce. "He paralyzed you, Lex. That's not something you forgive with a surgery. But if I don't and he dies?" Alexis trailed off, the moral quandary twisting like a knife. Am I condemning him to death? Or am I finally standing up for the girl he destroyed? The room felt smaller, the air thicker, as she wrestled with the ghosts of her past. That night, alone in their apartment, Alexis stared at the ceiling, her mind a battlefield. Forgiveness isn't weakness, she told herself, but neither is justice. Alice lay beside her, breathing steadily, a reminder of the love that had survived the wreckage. Yet, doubt crept in. What if saving him meant betraying herself? The phone buzzed with a text from her estranged mother. "Please, for the family." Family? Alexis thought bitterly. The one that abandoned me? The next day brought more pressure. Richard's sister, Aunt Clara, cornered Alexis in the hospital lobby. "He's changed, you know. Regrets everything." Her voice dripped with false sympathy, ignoring the years of silence. Alexis wheeled away, heart pounding. Changed? She mocked inwardly. Or just desperate? As the hours ticked by, Alexis delved deeper into her turmoil. She recalled the therapy sessions where she'd unpacked the trauma, learning that her paralysis wasn't just physical. It had crippled her trust, her ability to let go. Alice had been patient, building their life brick by brick. Shared dreams of adoption, a home free from judgment. But this request threatened to unravel it all. In a quiet moment, Alexis confronted Richard. Why me? She demanded, voice steady despite the storm inside. After what you did. His eyes filled with tears. I was wrong, Lexi. Scared. Please give me a chance to make it right. Make it right? She thought, rage surging. You can't unbreak a spine. The conversation left her drained, questioning every value she'd held dear. Society preached forgiveness, but at what cost? Her advocacy work had taught her that healing came from within, not from appeasing oppressors. Yet the human part of her, the daughter, wavered. Alice pulled her aside afterward. Whatever you choose, I'm with you. But don't let him manipulate you again. Their foreheads touched, a silent vow amid the uncertainty. Alexis felt a spark of resolve. But the path ahead loomed treacherous. By the end of the day, the decision loomed larger, a shadow over her soul. Save him and risk resentment? Or refuse and carry the guilt? The moral lines blurred, each option a betrayal of some part of herself. The following weeks turned into a relentless siege on Alexis's conscience. Phone calls from relatives she hadn't spoken to in years flooded in, each one laced with guilt-tripping pleas. He's your father, her cousin intoned over the line, as if blood alone erased the violence. Alexis hung up, her hands shaking, inner voice roaring. Father? He stopped being that the moment he pushed me. Alice watched her unravel, offering quiet support but simmering with her own anger. They're vultures, she muttered one evening, pacing their living room. Circling now that they need something. Alexis nodded, but doubt not at her. What if refusing makes me the villain in their story? Society's lens on family was unforgiving, especially for someone like her. A lesbian woman in a wheelchair, already marginalized. Work became her escape, counseling young queer teens facing similar rejections. One girl, Mia, shared her story of being kicked out at 16. How do you move on? Mia asked, eyes wide. Alexis paused, her own dilemma mirroring the advice she gave. You build your own family, one that chooses you. Hypocrite, she thought later. Preaching choice while chained to this one. The pressure escalated when Richard's condition worsened. A nurse called. He's in pain, asking for you. Alexis drove to the hospital, wheelchair secured in her adapted van. Alice by her side. Entering the room, she found him weaker, skin sallow. Lexi, he croaked. I know I don't deserve it, but... His words trailed off into coughs. Sitting there, Alexis's mind replayed the accident in vivid detail. The argument escalating, his hands on her shoulders, the tumble down the stairs. She'd woken in the hospital to learn he'd claimed it was an accident, a slip on wet floors. The police bought it. Her mother corroborated. They protected him, she seethed inwardly, and left me to rot. But now vulnerability humanized him. Is this karma? Or my chance for closure? Alice squeezed her hand, a reminder not to soften too quickly. Later, in the cafeteria, Alice voiced her fears. If you do this, what if it doesn't fix anything? You'll have given him a piece of you, literally. The thought terrified Alexis. Her body, already betrayed by the paralysis, now faced another invasion. Doctors explained the risks. Surgery complications, recovery time, potential impact on her health. Why risk more for him? Yet the ethical tug-of-war persisted. Moral philosophy books she'd read in college echoed in her head. Utilitarianism versus deontology. Save a life, or uphold justice. Family gatherings turned hostile. At a forced reunion in her mother's house, relatives bombarded her. Forgive and forget, Uncle Tom urged, ignoring her glare. Her mother, Evelyn, pulled her aside. He was raised strict. It's not all his fault. Alexis exploded inwardly. Not his fault? He chose violence over love. Alice defended her fiercely. She owes him nothing, she snapped at the group. The room fell silent, stares judgmental. Later, driving home, Alexis whispered, "Thank you." But the encounter planted seeds of isolation. They're turning us into the enemies. Nights brought insomnia, Alexis's thoughts a cyclone. If I donate, am I validating his actions? Or rising above them? Alice held her, their bond a sanctuary, but even that felt strained. I worry you'll regret it, Alice admitted. Or worse, that he'll use it to worm back in. A turning point came during a therapy session. Her counselor probed. What do you want, Alexis? Tears flowed. Peace, she admitted. But not at the cost of my dignity. The words crystallized her conflict. Personal healing versus familial obligation. Society's expectations amplified the drama. News articles on similar cases popped up in her feed. Queer individuals forgiving abusive parents. Inspirational, they called it. Coercive, she countered mentally. Her advocacy group discussed it. Opinions split. Some urged compassion. Others boundaries. Richard sent a letter, handwritten and trembling. I was wrong. Homosexuality scared me because of my upbringing. I see now you and Alice, that's real love. Alexis crumpled it, anger flaring. Too late for epiphanies. But doubt lingered. What if he's sincere? Alice read it and scoffed. Words are cheap. Actions matter. Their conversation deepened, exposing Alice's own scars, her family's quiet disapproval, the microaggressions at work. As the deadline for the surgery approached, Alexis faced a betrayal from within her circle. A friend from college, swayed by the family's narrative, messaged, "Don't let bitterness kill him." The word stung, eroding her resolve. Am I bitter? Or justified? In a moment of clarity, Alexis visited her old high school. Wheeling past the library where she'd first kissed Alice. Memories surged, joy tainted by tragedy. We survived because we chose each other, she realized. Not because of forgiveness forced upon us. Yet the hospital loomed, Richard's life ebbing. The choice crystallized into a razor-sharp edge, cutting through her soul. The climax built like a storm as Alexis's decision deadline loomed. Protests from LGBTQ+ activists outside the hospital added fuel. Banners reading "No forgiveness for abusers." Reporters hounded her. Will you save the man who paralyzed you? The media frenzy turned her private hell public, society's gaze dissecting her morality. Inside, Alexis grappled with the exposure. They see a story, she thought bitterly, not the wreckage of my life. Alice shielded her, fielding calls, but the strain showed. This is insane, Alice vented. Your trauma on display for clicks. Their relationship, once a haven, now bore cracks under the pressure. A shocking revelation came from Evelyn. In a tearful confession she admitted, I knew it wasn't an accident. I lied to protect the family. Alexis reeled, betrayal slicing deep. You chose him over me, twice. The words unspoken hung heavy. Why tell me now? Alexis demanded. Because if you don't donate, I'll lose him too, Evelyn pleaded. The selfishness ignited Alexis's fury. Everyone wants pieces of me, but no one offers repair. That night, alone while Alice worked late, Alexis wept, questioning her worth. Am I just a vessel for their redemption? Richard's health plummeted, forcing an emergency meeting. Doctors urged. Time's running out. Seated by his bed, Alexis confronted him fully. You didn't just paralyze me, she said, voice breaking. You shattered my trust and love in family. He nodded weakly. I know. But please let me atone. Atone? She scoffed inwardly. By taking more? Yet pity stirred as she saw the man, not the monster, aged regretful. The moral ambiguity tormented her. Deontological duty to self versus consequentialist salvation. Alice's perspective shifted slightly after overhearing a nurse praise Richard's turnaround. Maybe people change, she mused, but quickly retracted under Alexis's glare. No, forget it. He doesn't deserve you. The waiver highlighted their differing wounds. Alice's family had been distant, not violent. Society's divide deepened. Online forums debated. Forgive abusers? Posts flooded Alexis's inbox, some supportive, others accusatory. You're heartless if you refuse, one read. Heartless? After what he did. The judgment amplified her isolation. In a dramatic twist, Aunt Clara revealed a family secret. Richard had been abused as a child. Cycle of violence unbroken. He didn't know better, she insisted. Alexis paused, empathy flickering. Does trauma excuse trauma? The revelation complicated her narrative, blurring villain and victim. Therapy intensified her counselor warning. Don't decide out of guilt. But guilt was her constant companion. Dreams haunted her, reliving the fall. Then scenarios of donation gone wrong. or refusal leading to funeral regrets. Alice proposed an escape. Let's leave town, ignore them. Tempting, but Alexis knew running solved nothing. I have to face this, she replied, their embrace charged with unspoken fears. What if my choice breaks us? The high-stakes moment arrived at a family mediation. Relatives argued, voices rising. Blood is thicker. Uncle Tom bellowed. Alice countered. Love is thicker, and yours was conditional. Chaos ensued, Evelyn sobbing, Richard calling weakly from his room. Alexis wheeled out, overwhelmed. This isn't about them, it's about me. In the parking lot, she broke down in Alice's arms. I don't know if I can forgive, she confessed. Alice whispered. You don't have to. Just choose what's right for you. That choice crystallized during a quiet dawn. Staring at old photos, happy childhood before the rift, Alexis weighed the costs. Saving him might bring superficial peace, but at the expense of her autonomy. Refusing affirmed her boundaries, but carried death's shadow. As surgery day neared, betrayal struck again. A leaked medical record exposed her indecision, courtesy of a nosy relative. Public outrage split. Half hailed her as a hero for considering, half condemned her hesitation. Society demands saints from the sinned against, she realized. Alice stood firm. We're in this together. Their bond, tested, grew stronger amid the fire. Yet, Alexis's inner conflict peaked. Am I defined by his actions or mine? The hospital called, Richard in crisis. Rushing there, Alexis faced the precipice, heart racing. Crisis hit like lightning when Richard coded that night, machines wailing as doctors rushed in. Alexis watched from the doorway, frozen, her mind a vortex. Is this the end? Have I waited too long? Alice pulled her close, whispering, It's not your fault. Revived but critical, Richard's plea intensified. Lexi, tomorrow, please. The urgency forced Alexis's hand, but indecision paralyzed her more than her legs ever could. Save him and heal the family? Or refuse and free myself? The ethical minefield exploded with each thought. Society's microscope tightened. A viral article painted her as vengeful, ignoring context. Lesbian daughter denies dying father life. The headline screamed. Comments poured in, she's playing God. They're blind to the abuse, Alexis fumed inwardly. Alice deactivated her accounts, but the damage seeped in. Family fractures widened. Evelyn accused. Your lifestyle caused this rift. Alexis snapped back. My love for Alice? Or his hatred? The confrontation unearthed buried resentments. Evelyn's own suppressed feelings, perhaps? She's projecting, Alexis realized, adding layers to the drama. In a moment of vulnerability, Alexis confided in Mia, her mentee. What would you do? Mia hesitated. I'd walk away. But you're stronger. The words bolstered her, reminding her of the youth she fought for. If I donate out of pressure, what message does that send? Alice's support wavered under strain. I can't watch you torture yourself, she admitted during a heated argument. Choose him, and maybe we lose us. The ultimatum, unspoken but felt, terrified Alexis. Is love conditional here too? Therapy provided no easy answers. Explore the trade-offs, her counselor advised. Alexis listed them mentally. Donation meant physical risk, emotional debt. Refusal, potential regret, societal scorn. No win, only lesser losses. A surprise visit from an old friend, a pastor turned ally, offered perspective. Forgiveness doesn't require sacrifice, he said. It's for you, not him. The words resonated, shifting her paradigm. Maybe I can forgive without giving. But Richard's manipulation peaked. Through a nurse he sent. If you let me die, you're no better than me. The gaslighting ignited rage. He's still controlling, she thought. Alice read it and exploded. That's it, refuse him. The decision brewed amid escalating tension. Protesters clashed outside. Media vans swarmed. Inside, Alexis confronted Evelyn. You enabled him. Own that. Evelyn broke. I was scared too. The admission humanized her, but didn't absolve. Nights blurred into days, Alexis's health suffering, stress exacerbating her pain. Alice nursed her, their roles reversing. I love you enough to let you choose. Alice said softly. The reassurance mended their rift, strengthening resolve. In a pivotal inner monologue, Alexis weighed her life's arc. From victim to advocate, paralysis to empowerment. He took my legs, but not my spirit. Donating would honor that, or undermine it. The surgery slot arrived. Doctors prepped, family gathered. Alexis wheeled in, heart pounding. I've decided, she announced, voice steady. The room held its breath. But before revealing, flashbacks assaulted her. The push, the pain, the prejudice. Society expects me to be the bigger person, but at what cost to my soul? Alice's eyes met hers, full of unwavering support. Whatever I choose, she's my family. The moment stretched, tension electric. In the operating room's antechamber, Alexis looked at Richard one last time. I won't donate, she said firmly. The words a liberation after months of torment. Gasps echoed. Evelyn collapsed in sobs. Richard's eyes widened in shock, then dimmed with defeat. This is my choice. My power, Alexis affirmed inwardly, the weight lifting even as guilt nipped at her heels. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Family disowned her anew. Calls ceasing like a door slamming. You're killing him, Aunt Clara hissed in a final message. Alexis blocked them, focusing on healing. They were never family, just blood with conditions. Society's backlash intensified. Editorials condemned. Cold-hearted refusal. But support surged from queer communities. Boundaries over blood. Alexis channeled it into her work, speaking at events. Forgiveness isn't obligatory, self-preservation is. Alice stood by her, their bond unbreakable. Proud of you, she murmured during quiet evenings. Yet doubts lingered for Alexis. Did I make the right call? Richard lingered weeks longer, passing quietly. The funeral invite came, she declined. No more performances. Months later, life stabilized. Alexis advocated fiercer, helping others navigate similar crossroads. Mia thrived under her guidance, a testament to her impact. Alice proposed adoption, dreaming of a future unshadowed. But reflections haunted. The moral quandaries, the trade-offs. Was refusing justice or revenge? Society debated endlessly. Her story a catalyst for change. In the end, Alexis found peace in her authenticity. Legs or no, family or not. Love with Alice proved enduring, a beacon through the storm. Was Alexis right to refuse her father's plea, prioritizing her own healing over his survival?